Today's video will be a bit more conversational as I'm still lazy and haven't finished making a good video. Well, I want to talk about a bizarre day and Roblox JoJo games in general. I want to start with the fact that Roblox JoJo games have been stagnating for a couple of years now, and their online numbers are getting lower and lower every time. And this was quite expected since there was a large online audience at that time due to the release of JoJo's Part 5. But also Roblox itself sometimes recommended these games, and people who hadn't watched JoJo got acquainted with this anime through these very games. In my case, it was Project JoJo and A Bizarre Day. I think that almost the entire community got acquainted with this anime in such a strange way. The online audience grew for some places and declined for others, but the fact remained that the numbers were high and there was demand for new places. But how are things now? A Bizarre Day. In my opinion, this game was GOAT, not without its flaws, but it had its own atmosphere, even its own storyline. But how did it go downhill? Let's start with the fact that the game's creator left his project because he didn't expect it to be so popular. The game had terrible code and he burned out on JoJo, after which he left the group, handing over ownership to his friend. All this happened after the announcement of the SBR mode, and after the release of SCR, which was even worse. Sorry about that. They even showed a piece of Valentine's Day. Apparently, the other developers didn't know how to update the game further, and it felt like they didn't have a head of development who knew the development plan and the direction the game should take. All this led to the game being moved to sandbox mode, which caused people to leave because there was no point in grinding anymore. And at its peak, there were between 100 and 250 people online. Then, of course, a new developer came along. They rewrote the game from scratch, made the main playable area normal again, and even updated a couple of abilities for some stands, giving the game a second wind. But now guess what? ABD 2 was canceled, and the original ABD was put on hold for the time being. But after a while, they announced an update. ABD 4.0 is an update to the original game, not a complete rewrite. Of course, they rewrote all the old code, revamped all the stands, added some new ones, added new mechanics such as fishing, wall climbing, swimming, accessories, etc. And the game clearly became more like an RPG, which is great, but there is one big but. The game has been in development for 4 years, and there is still no open beta. Really. I don't know what the problem was. They could have just released a rough beta for a couple of days so that people could play it, find a bunch of bugs, and then the game could have been sent for refinement. But they want to add a lot of things at once, which could have negative consequences in the future. Don't think I'm a hater. I myself want the game to come out as soon as possible and be successful. But seeing how the developers have promised several times to show a sneak peek and in the end, just don't deliver on time, I immediately start to feel a sense of distrust. In general, I hope that the OBT will be released at least this year and that they have actually done more than they are showing, because if they showed all the content right away, it wouldn't be interesting. Well, let's wait and hope. YBA. I think the game needs no introduction. It was the most popular JoJo game, and although it has fewer online players now, it still has the most online players at the moment. It is only surpassed by World of Stands or AOT when there are new updates. But when the hype dies down, the number of online players becomes less than in YBA, which has not had any updates for half a year. And it would still have good online numbers to this day if it weren't for Uzu and his empty promises. Updates come out every 6 months with 1 to 2 stands, a couple of skins, and balance changes. But you know what's most upsetting? That at the moment, new stands aren't really needed. So even if they add new stands, online numbers won't change dramatically. There will be growth for a while, but then everything will fall back down. And you know, there is only one way to prevent this from happening. I'm talking about endgame content. Add new prestige levels that don't give skill points, but give some skins, cosmetics, or items. They could have added gang wars and reworked the gang system because it's just crap, and so on and so forth. If it weren't for the greed of Uzu, who by the way made his own crappy battleground game with 0 online players, I think YBA would have had potential, but now we have what we have. But what about the other games? World of Stands is more about PvE than PvP, and new content is regularly added such as new storylines, dungeons, events, stands that weren't in other games, etc. Overall, the game is good, but I think it's underrated, and I hope it will have more online players. Roblox is unbreakable. The game looks great, I would say, with an RPG component, well-designed stands, and even a storyline. But in my opinion, the combat sucks, and together with the animations, it feels cardboard-like. Updates come once a year or every 6 months, and we end up with 220 online players. The JoJo game, just a PvP game about JoJo, was pretty good by the way, but there haven't been any updates, so it's not online either. And I don't even want to talk about Stan's Awakening because it's complete bullshit. Since SBR will be released this year or early next year and everyone will be hyping up the new season, I think the anime hype will boost online activity and new games will be released. But the hype will only happen if the episodes are released once a week, rather than in a batch on Netflix like a Stone Ocean, which didn't generate much hype.